Hello, everyone. My name is Aja. I'm the CEO of Trella Technologies, and today we're going to talk about the top 5 climate risks that farmers aren't ready for and how you can protect your business. For those of you that might be new to Trella Technologies, you may not know that our mission is to grow whatever it is we want to grow, wherever we want to grow it. It's grow what you want, where you want. And what we mean by that is being able to grow in environments that might not be so environmentally friendly. And those environments are significantly changing, especially over the past couple of decades. So we're going to be talking about increasing in temperatures. We're going to talk about flooding. We're going to talk about hurricanes. We're going to talk about hail and wildfire, all 5 things that can have a dramatic impact on your business. Some of you might be thinking, well, I have insurance for these things. And let me just explain to you a couple of things. I've worked for insurance companies for about 15 years in my past. I was a natural catastrophe risk engineer, specializing in helping our clients, our customers, our insurance customers protect their businesses from things like flood, hurricanes, hail, et cetera. We were going around and doing this with multi-million-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, because they had the resources and the capital to be able to go out and purchase insurance that actually had engineering attached to it. And one of the things that we learned over that time was that insurance, while it will make you whole, you'll be able to file a claim, you'll be able to take that money to rebuild and get your business back up and running. But there's one thing that insurance does not cover, and that is your loss in market share. During the time after a flood, after some sort of a catastrophe, you're going to be down. Your business won't be able to produce, and your customers are going to have to go somewhere else. Specifically, when we're dealing with things like food and plant medicine, those are things that are requirements for people. So they're not going to be able to just wait for you to get your business back up and running. They may be loyal customers, but those loyal customers just can't wait around for your business to be up and running again. So they're going to go somewhere else, and they may not come back once you're up and running again. So unfortunately, one of the things that we learned over time through my training and through my experience has been that companies that have insurance, they may come back, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, but 2 or 3 years down the road, they're unfortunately filing bankruptcy because they've had a significant loss in their market share and their customers have gone somewhere else. And that's the thing that insurance does not cover. So what I wanted to really drive home for you today, if you don't, walk away learning anything, please learn this. It is good to have insurance. It's important to have insurance, but please don't just rely on insurance because it's not the whole picture. The best thing you could possibly do is to be proactive and to be ahead of the game. So there are things that you can do to protect your business from things like increased temperatures, floods, hurricanes, et cetera. So what we're going to do together is go through some resources that we've put together to help you figure out, 1, are you exposed to these things? And 2, what can you do to protect your business, your livelihood, and your legacy from having a negative impact from these things. One of the other things we wanted to point out is that you can download a copy of this and take it with you. So under this video, there'll be a link. You just download a copy. You'll have access to all the resources that we're going to briefly cover today. And if you have any questions or concerns, or if you just need some help doing all of this, please reach out to us. We're here to help. All right, let's dig in. First up, increase in temperature. So let's first understand the impact. I mean, most of us know drought conditions. That's the biggest thing that's happening throughout the US and globally right now, is there are drought conditions and not in having a lack of access to water. But one of the things that people may not understand is that even before you get to that drought condition, just a slight increase in temperature will cause a decrease in yield to your crops and the quality. For those of you that are growing indoors using indoor operations and have HVAC equipment, it will negatively impact the HVAC efficiency and the lifespan of your HVAC equipment. Most HVAC equipment are designed to do very well and to operate without any issues at temperatures less than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. But when you get to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when HVAC efficiency starts to wear and it's not as efficient as it was, which means it's going to be an increase in use of your HVAC equipment and an increase in your energy costs, affecting your bottom line. So you want to have an awareness of how many days above 95 degrees Fahrenheit will you possibly have to deal with, and maybe it won't be this year, but maybe it'll be a couple of years down the line. When will that happen? And a great way to do that is to be able to check out some projections. So we have a map down here. a little clickable link for you to be able to click. Check out that map. I'm going to show you that map in just a second. And what you also want to do is you want to discuss these issues with your HVAC design firm. Talk to them. Ask them about this. What's going to happen if we get, multiple days above 95 degrees Fahrenheit? What can I anticipate if you're designing a facility from scratch? Design, thinking 10 years ahead, 15 years ahead, so that you don't have to worry about replacing equipment a lot sooner than you need to, or high energy costs. So let's check out that map very briefly. This is a map from a place called Climate Impact Lab. And you can see this map will show you 90 days above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. So just make sure when you go in here, it defaults to average summer months. You want to change this down here to number of days above 95 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can also see, that it'll tell you over the next 20 years, 2020, 2039, or you can also toggle up to 2040 and beyond. But if you just kind of scroll over your area, you'll get an understanding of how many days above 95 degrees will you experience. Very great resource, please check it out. Next, we have hail. For those of you that are growing outdoors, you're gonna have to worry about damage to your outdoor crops. There are physical protection systems, netting, et cetera, that you can use to protect your crops from hail. For those of you that are growing indoors, you're gonna wanna think about how will hail impact your outdoor equipment, your HVAC equipment. We talked about that on the last one. Your solar panels, skylights, building materials. Some of these things are what are called hail impact rated. That means that they've been tested by UL or some other sort of testing facility to determine how much damage will they experience if hail does occur. But please understand that these testing criteria have limitations. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do is find out, are you exposed to hail? If so, how big is the hail? And then if you are exposed, what can you do about it? So I'm gonna show you some resources that we have right here about checking your hail exposure, some free resources, and then we also have a nice video that we put together that goes into depth about these hail rated systems specifically for solar panels. So I'll show you that as well. First up, the hail map. You can see here that this is hail point. They have a map across the entire US. Right now, I have it keyed in on Oklahoma. Okay, so we're right here, a little bit north of Texas. And this is pretty cool because what this will do is it will give you a history of all of the past hail events in that specific state or in that specific area. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to scroll down and go as far back as you possibly can, and look for incidents that have occurred, incidents of hail that have occurred with hail diameter greater than 2 inches, 2 inches or greater. The reason why I picked 2 inches is because that's in some cases the limitation of these hail rated systems. Once you get over 2 inches, you really have to start thinking a little bit more, in detail about how to protect solar panels, skylights, greenhouse panels, et cetera. So if someone tells you that, yes, this is rated for hail, you're going to want to dig a little deeper and find out, okay, what size of hail? Because depending on where you're located, throughout the US, you may or may not have very large hailstones to worry about. All right, next up, what you can do to prepare yourself for hail. This is from an organization called IBHS. Very good organization. I've had some affiliation with them for a couple of years as I sat on their insurance board. This organization does a lot of testing, real world testing, building up models, blowing wind at things, throwing hail at things. They got a huge research campus in South Carolina where they do all this kind of catastrophic testing on all these different types of building materials. And they're funded by several large scale insurance carriers. And I worked for some of them. And while I worked for one in particular, I sat on their insurance board. So I had a chance to really get to see what they're capable of and how detailed they are about the research that they do there. Very great. And they have a lot of different resources, not just for hail, but for a lot of different other things. So please use this as a resource. They will provide information for both homeowners and businesses. So depending on your focus, today we're talking about business protection, they have something for you as well. So use this as a first step to figure out how you can protect your business from natural catastrophes in general. Next up, we have our video that we did on YouTube. It was about an hour-long presentation that I put together, specifically focusing on solar panels. For those of you that are looking to do a huge solar panel investment, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you check this video out. Specifically, if you're in a hail region, I talk about the testing procedures. I talk about the reason why you want to dig a little bit deeper, I talk about how it can impact performance. It may not break your solar panels, but it will definitely impact the performance, et cetera. So please take a look at that as well. Moving forward, we have flooding. That's our next topic, flooding. And this one is nasty stuff. Flooding waters, just to be clear, are contaminated water. This is everything that's out there in the world. So that's sewage, oil, all types of materials will be floating around. So if it gets onto your farm, not only will it cause suffocation to your crops and damage, but what it leaves behind is incredibly nasty stuff, and it takes a long time to clean up and remove all of that sediment. The other thing that you need to consider when we're talking about flooding is you're going to probably suffer a significant loss of time being able to access your farm, being able to get into it. So consider that as well, that you're going to be you're going to be either off your property or out of your buildings for a significant amount of time until you're able to get in there, especially if they do a forced evacuation, which can happen in some time at times. The other things you want to worry about are the electricity, water, gas, sewer, things that you rely on, your utilities that you rely on. You want backup solutions for all those. Again, this is one of those areas where people like to rely on insurance. Please do not do that. Second, you can always find out whether or not you're in a flood exposed zone or close to it. And when I say close to it on purpose, I'll talk a little bit more about that when I show you the FEMA flood map. But there are things you can do to protect your building from flood, not just waiting for sandbags. Sandbagging is the last resort. There are other things that you can do to protect your property from flood. You're going to want to look at your property, but you're also going to want to look at the areas around your property, the roads to get access to your property. If you've got a downstream transformer that provides, power to your property, it may be utility owned, but is that utility owned transformer or substation located in a flood zone? You're going to want to know about that. And you can use this FEMA flood map to find out. So let's take a look at that. All right, move myself out of the way. So here we have a FEMA flood map. There'll be a link to this. When you click this link for the first time, there'll be a pop-up. You can just say okay to that pop-up. And what you're going to want to do is go up in the left-hand corner and type in your location. Right now, I have this keyed in on Dallas, Texas, and just kind of roamed around a little bit. But any of these areas with color coding, any of these shaded areas are all considered to be flood zones. There are different types of flood zones. If you need more information on that, you can dig down deeper, or you can always reach out to us for help. But you want to know, are you located in one of these flood zones, or are you located within 2,000 feet or less of one of the flood zones? So you're not going to want to just look, at the color coding. You want to find your location and then measure. And there's a little measuring tool right here that you can click. You're going to want to measure the distance from the flood zone and make sure that you are your main access roads, any substations that you rely on, any critical utilities that you rely on. Make sure that all of those are more than 2,000 feet away from any of the flood zones that you see here, regardless of color. One of the reasons why we say 2,000 feet is because we found that these FEMA flood maps, some of them are severely outdated, some of them are incorrect. And things change over time. Topography changes over time. So this is a best guess estimate of what your flood exposure might be. And unfortunately, we found in loss history that a good majority of flooding occurs outside of the FEMA flood zone. So insurance companies that write checks for these multi-million-dollar companies, they don't just go off of the FEMA flood zone and say, you're not in this flood zone, you're good. They actually look for about 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, it depends on the insurance company. They go out and they go a little bit further above and beyond because they know that they're going to have to pay for a loss. So you want to be on the same page as them, and you want to look outside of the flood zone as well. Next up, we have hurricane. Hurricane this is one of the areas where it can be a little bit more difficult to figure out what you can do, but you can definitely, there are things that you can do, physical protection systems that you can get to help protect your building, your crops from hurricane damage. You're definitely going to get damage to your crops if not protected, damage to your outdoor equipment if not protected. But the first thing you can do is to check and see, are you in a hurricane prone region? Again, do not rely on insurance for this. And as I mentioned, wind resistance for buildings requires some real thorough evaluation. We have the capacity to help with that. Structural engineers do as well. So you can reach out to anybody that you might have on staff and ask them, have they considered, what's the wind speed that they considered, and how have they designed your solar panels, any of your HVAC equipment to be, resistant from not just the wind, but all the debris, all the trees, all the limbs that fly around and cause damage. It's not just the wind itself, it's the things that are flying, the projectiles that are flying around that cause a significant amount of damage to equipment as well. So you're going to look at that. Here is a hurricane zone map from the American Society of Civil Engineers. They do some extensive work. Every 5 years or so, they come out with a new flood map. There are different versions out there. Don't get too bogged down in all of that. Just look at this map and see, are you in what's called this ASC 7-05 hurricane prone region? It's this kind of tan dotted area right here along mostly the East Coast and also out in Hawaii and Guam. Are you in one of these areas? If so, you need to, reach out to us or reach out to a structural engineer and find out what can you do to make sure that you're not going to have to, be down for a significant amount of time if you have some sort of hurricane exposure. Moving forward, the nastiest of all of them, wildfire, in my opinion, because it can cause a potential for total loss of your crops, your building, your infrastructure, leaving behind only ash. But again, there are things that you can do to protect yourself. First is find out, are you exposed? That's the first question we always ask. Do you even have to worry about this? Because you may not, or you may. So we have a resource here to help find out whether or not you're at risk for wildfires. Consider physical protection, creating what are called fire lines. And again, we have some free resources that I'll share with you to help you with that. This is one of the maps that that link will take you right to this map. And you can see right now I'm keyed in on California. Again, up top in left-hand corner, you can type in your community, your town, your city, etc., and it will let you know what the likelihood of wildfire is for that particular area. So in California, no surprise, we know that that's a pretty big area right now for wildfire exposure. Most of the West is suffering from that as well. But don't think for 1 second that that means that the rest of the country is not. We can see that that does span all the way across to the East Coast and New Jersey as well. So any of these pinkish to red areas are areas that are considered to have a higher than normal likelihood for wildfire, and conditions do change over time. So you're going to want to come back and check this periodically. If you find that you're in a wildfire region, again, I'm back at this IBHS resource. There are definitely some resources here for you to look at to figure out how to protect your business from wildfire. Small things that you can do, to help make sure that if there is a wildfire in your area, that it doesn't spread to your business. And again, you don't want to just rely on insurance. You don't want to just rely on the fire department. These things are massive and intense. So you want to be able to do as much as you possibly can beforehand to help reduce the impact to your business. So with that being said, we do have, for those that might think this is a bit much, I need some help, we do have resources to help you with that. We have our climate risk report that we can put together specifically for your location. So we will give you, an understanding of what hazards are you exposed to what level. We give you a low, a medium, or a high rating. And that's all based on our own, loss history, industry information and proprietary calculations that we put together to kind of help you prioritize what do you need to focus on if you happen to be exposed to several things. We can also drill down specifically to your location and give you some more information regarding downtime and how much damage you're going to incur. And then we can give you some more free resources. And again, we are here to help you with this. Even after you get this report, we offer on-site consultations where we'll actually do a lot of a deeper evaluation, come up with customized recommendations to really help you with physical protection systems and other things that you can do to protect your business. So thank you again for your time. For those of you that are interested in trying to download this, please remember there's a downloadable link right below this video. You'll get the entire copy of this presentation sent to you via email. And if you have any questions, concerns, or need any help, we are definitely here. Thank you.